Hey everybody, welcome to today's live weekly webinar. My name is Vanessa Simpkins and you are joining us for how to attract your soulmate. This week as part of the 10K in 30-day live weekly webinar, we're talking about sex. Hallelujah. We're talking about juicy topics like what to do if you keep attracting Mr. Wrong all the time, what to do if you're having sex too soon, and how to change your self-worth, change the beliefs that are having you recreating the same unfulfilling patterns in your relationships. And if you're wondering what the heck does relationships have to do with a business, this was like a business building webinar, let me tell you, your relationships really affect your energy. They affect the level of happiness that you have. They also affect, why in the heck am I in business doing all this work when I don't have, a partner to share it with? So relationships mean a lot. And I'm really excited that you're joining me and my amazing guest, Patricia Runblade, today for this phenomenal webinar all about really how to empower you to have exceptional relationships. And we're going to jump in. We're going to get started. We've got tons of awesome content to share with you and processes. But before we do that, I just want to make sure, before I bring Patricia on, I want to make sure that you guys can all hear me and that I'm not just some like big shiny bobblehead talking for nothing. So can you guys go ahead in the chat box and type in your name, your name and where you're from. And that will allow me to know that, hey, this actually works and you guys can all hear me. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome Patricia. Hey, Patricia.
Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. Phenomenal Patricia. You're going to love her. She is a best-selling author. She's got 2 books. Her first best-selling book is called Oh Flux, How Did I Get Here? 8 Simple Strategies to Begin Transforming Your Life Today. By the way, I love that title. And her international best-selling book called The Change Book, 9 Insights into Self-Empowerment. Patricia's passionate and effective in her approach she's really about inspiring women for confidence in life and money and business. She's got, I'm going to let her tell you all about her story, but she's got 2 wonderful websites, thepersonaladvancementgroup.com, soulfulsuccesssecrets.com. She's been featured on all kinds of cool radio stations, the Change Radio Show, all Positive Talk Radio, LA. And I know you're going to love my amazing guest here, Patricia. So welcome, Patricia, to the call.
Thank you. Welcome, Vanessa. Thanks for having me here today. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to be here and excited to kind of share some of the juiciness that we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. And I know that Gertie is here from Denmark. So welcome, Gertie. If you're just joining us, go ahead, type your name and where you're from. There's a ton of people here, and I just want to make sure you can all hear us. So go ahead, type in your name and where you're from into the chat box. And Kelly from Bellingham, Washington is here. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, Kelly. And so you guys can all hear me. Awesome. Just a quick kind of housekeeping before we get started. I believe that 90%, not 50, 90% of success is showing up. So congratulations for being here, for making it live on this webinar. And my invitation for you is to show up and really be here, right? So stop driving your car if you're driving, because watching and driving is not cool, right? And it's not cool. And if you have questions, please go ahead, type them in. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Natasha's here. Hey, Natasha. Johnny's here from Ottawa. Kelly, another Kelly. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Go ahead, type your questions into the chat box because I'm going to be managing that while Patricia does the webinar. And we really want you, we're really encouraging you, inviting you to show up, to be here, right? Turn off all your other applications and really show up for the next hour and pick our brains, especially Patricia's, on relationships, because we're here to help you. That's why you're here. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Patricia. You are on, my dear. The stage is yours. Take us through the webinar.
Awesome. Here we go. Oh, at last, a cure for sex too soon syndrome. Oh my gosh, how many of you have been in that situation? I know I have. Oh, today we're going to talk about the Attract Your Soulmate system. It's also a live weekly webinar that you can catch on my website as well, but I encourage everybody to kind of stick around. Vanessa mentioned my 2 books, so stick around because 2 people are going to get copies of my books, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to personally mail them to you, so that takes a lot of effort on my part, but I'm going to do it for you.
Awesome.
So I promise we're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to come away with breakthroughs to help you begin attracting your soulmate today, now, in the next 30 days, as soon as you want. Some other programs that I do are the VIP Day and my Relationship Reignite Mastermind community, which is a really powerful group, a lot of amazing women on this, and we have some really juicy talk on this show, on this one. So you're going to kind of discover on this webinar some proven attract your soulmate system to help you begin attracting the love of your life in the next 30 days, in the next 60 days, heck, even this year, because wow, we're still early in this year. We're going to look at how to get over some of that old relationship trauma of the past, some old patterns that keep showing up, and we'll break through some fear of never meeting the right man or belief that there are no good guys left. And we're going to help you get ultra clear about your ideal mate and begin calling him in today. So I'm so
excited. I love this. Hallelujah. I'm sure people are listening. Yeah, I want him. I remember when I was without my guy, I was like, where is he? I don't want to do anything until he shows up. I just want, like, God, if you want me to keep doing my business, you better bring him. So
that's right. That's right. Because it's important to have that. My gosh, to have that prosperity in our life that brings us all that love. We're going to learn how to stop settling for second best and putting up with the scraps, you know, all those trolls that kind of keep knocking at your door, how to kick them to the curb. And we're going to also talk about mastering your emotions and mindset if you want to attract your soulmate, because really that is a big part of it. If you really feel it within your soul, then that, believe me, that person will show up for you. So a little about me, you know, Vanessa had kind of talked about my books and radio shows, and I've been a speaker and trainer and a mentor, and I've helped hundreds of women, you know, really improve their confidence in life and love. And I'm known for helping women break through and rock their life in, you know, in relationships. And it's been an interesting journey for me. It's been a powerful journey for me. And the life that I have today is amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it hasn't always been that way. You see, you know, a few short years ago, my life began the role of a slow implosion. You ever seen that when buildings are getting ready to implode? There's always that anticipation of something doomful is going to happen. Well, that was kind of like my life for the longest time, and it went through a 22-year marriage that started that role, and it just kind of kept going. I jumped into a relationship right after my divorce. You know, the divorce is hard enough. You know, there's kids involved, and there's moving, and there's all sorts of things, and you feel like crap when you go through a divorce. No matter how amicable it is, you still feel like crap. And I did. I felt unworthy. I felt unloved. And then I jumped right into a rebound relationship with this really amazing guy. And I was just so in need of love and connection and acceptance and desirability that I dove headfirst into this relationship and had blinders on the whole way and my rose-colored glasses, and you know, and things were great. It was an absolutely amazing relationship until the day he stopped calling 4 years later. Just one day, just stopped calling, just changed his mind. And let me tell you what, if anything messed with my head, it was that. Because I fell back into that old pattern of thinking of like, wow, I'm unlovable, I'm undesirable, what's wrong with me? And who's gonna want me? And why did he just leave? What did I do wrong? Was I not perfect enough? Was I not good enough? Was I not pretty enough? Was I not skinny enough? I went through this whole list of litany of things and really trying to figure out what was it? What was it that scared this guy away? Because really I was running on empty. So I did what most people would do in that type of situation. I decided I'd move. Let me move to a new city. Let me take a new job. Let me meet new people, because hey, that fixes everything, because it's a change of place, right? And I did that, and that was the only change I did. And you know, when I got to my new city and my new job and jumped back into that dating pool with tons of people that, you know, it'd been so long since I'd been in the dating pool, I really was kind of floundering, didn't really have the tools and how to be there. And it really sucked. And I kept meeting these guys and going on coffee dates and kept meeting the same guy and the same guy and the same guy. He just had a different name, but he was just.
Oh yes, I've been there and done that as well. The same
Yeah, I think we all have it.
They have like different color hair, right?
Yeah, and then some are a little taller than others, and and it's crazy, and it's exhausting. And some of them I attempted to have relationships with, and never really felt fulfilled, or just something was missing, or all of a sudden their true troll would come out like 2 weeks after starting to date them, and then you're like, what am I doing? Why am I settling for this? I deserve better. And it's crazy. I mean, I actually had a couple of them that stalked me for a little bit, and that's just crazy and scary all on its own.
Can anyone relate to that? Just raise a hand, give a little shout out in the chat. Can anyone relate to what she's talking about, where you're in this pattern of relationships and you've maybe suffered from like a disappointment, a breakup, a divorce, and you're like, what you're looking inside, you're saying, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me in here? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of things? And you're starting to see a pattern. Let us know if that's something you're struggling with as well.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's struggling. I know in my book, Oh Flux, How Did I Get Here? I devoted a whole chapter to dating and relationships that I experienced, and talked about, all sorts of crazy things that have happened to me in the time. And it's really, really what got me started along this road of where I'm at now, because I hated it for myself. And I hated to see my friends going through it and other women going through it and things like that. So it really is, all about helping women and helping other women just find their true love and their true love with themselves, and really create those relationships by design, instead of just kind of going out there and accepting whatever comes in front of you. I mean, we have that power, that ability within us to do that. And I wanted to share that message with everybody, because it was a hard lesson for me to learn. And I don't want any other woman to ever have to go through that on her own. So I really wanted to share that gift and share it with my families, because it extends out. My process of learning how to love myself and attract the love of my life has helped me with my children. It's helped me in business. It's helped me be more adventurous. You can see I went skydiving because I had so much love and confidence and satisfaction in my life that I decided to take that plunge. And it's helped me in other ways and grow personally.
I agree. When you take your power back and you start looking within and start making those inner shifts with your own confidence in yourself, it affects every area of your life and business.
It does. And I love this picture of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. A relationship is for two complete people to join together for the divine of humanity. We are created by the divine, and in the vision of pure love and light, and finding our soulmate, finding that other person who enhances our completeness, is truly a divine relationship. And I really want to help other people find that for themselves.
This is an important point, though, because I think a lot of people grow up with this misconception that Prince Charming out there is going to come and swoop them off their freaking feet and ride them off into the sunset, and they're looking for other people out there to make them happy. And that's not how it works. So
right.
Really
It is important. I know I did that. I kept waiting for my for my husband to always make me happy, to always make me feel better, to always make me feel more sexy, more desirable, more wanted. And all really it was is that I just kept feeling more like crap because I kept waiting for somebody else to have my best interest in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, love is not neutral. It takes a stand, and it's a commitment to the attainment of the conditions of peace for everyone involved. And love is a peace generator. It should create this whole level of inner peace in your life. And that's that yummy morsel that we all want to have in our lives. Yeah, powerful stuff. Excuse me. So, Maya Angelou has a very beautiful saying that says, "Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer." And there's so many people in my life that I feel so full of gratitude for. Vanessa, you being one of them. I've met some amazing people along my way who have inspired me, who have mentored me, who have brought goodness and prosperity and love to my life. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody on that as well. So here we are. Let's talk about some of these guidelines for recovering from sexual regret so we can begin attracting our soulmate now, because I know I have lived in that sexual regret moment many times. Vanessa,
yeah, and I'm so, oh yeah, I raised my hand, and I'm so happy, you know, Patricia, that when you sent me the slides and the headline, you know, for this webinar, I was like, oh, bam, she's really talking about the real Shazam. Like, that's what it's about. It's about all these underlying feelings that, you know, just that show our physical actions, all those feelings underneath, you know, all the life is created with feelings. We create our life through the vibrations that we're having. And so regret is very low, very, you know, feeling. And you just nailed it. So I'm really happy that you're bringing this topic to light, because it's needed.
Yeah, it is. And so many of us don't realize that it's there. Like you said, it's just that low-lying vibration that you can't ever pinpoint it. It's like something is just there. But why do people continue to struggle attracting their soulmate? I mean, you know, for me, back in the, you know, not too long ago, I was struggling with confidence, and I'm sure a lot of women out there do. We all struggle with confidence when we look at the media and what it portrays and what we're supposed to look like. You know, and it causes us to not know or understand what we're worth, or our own personal value. Sometimes we don't even get enough dates. Sometimes, you know, people are so judgmental online dating and on the online profiles and things like that. People get very judgmental, and you know, if your hair's out of place, they won't talk to you. It's kind of crazy. Or we don't date the right guys, or we have too many dates with all the trolls, like I was sharing in my own story. And I have other friends too who talk about the same thing, and they're like, oh, I'm just so sick and tired of going out with these jerks. They just assholes. And how do I get rid of them? And then a lot of times, I think, and Vanessa, we've talked about this before, that, you know, we don't ever ask for the commitment.
Yeah. So these are all really valid points. And I'm just curious, you know, if you're watching and you're just tuning in, we're on the How to Attract Your Soulmate webinar. This is part of the 10K and 30-day live weekly webinar series. And I'm really curious to find out, you know, which one do you struggle with, do you think? Which one of these 5 things do you struggle with the most? Go ahead and type it into the chat box. Just give Patricia and I an idea of what where you're at, of what you're struggling with, so that we can help tailor the webinar training best for you. So Gigi says yes. Okay, so let us know. Is it 1, 2, 3, number 4, number 5? Is it all of them? Go ahead and let us know. And that'll give us a better idea of how to best serve you on today's webinar. But I think these are really valid points. Yeah. They're
great. I mean, I hear them all the time from the women that I work with, and even from some of my friends who are single too. I mean, a lot of the same things, you know,
I think in the beginning, when I was out dating, I didn't even understand the concept of commitment. I didn't even understand that it was like, what do you mean you have to require commitment from a man? What are you talking about, right? And we're kind of gearing this webinar, I think, towards mostly women. I know there's an amazing, maybe a few men here on the webinar, and please do ask us your questions. You know, please don't feel left out. We want to serve you as well. But for me, number 5 was like, commitment. What are you talking about? Like, that was a foreign idea. Maggie says number 3 and 4, definitely awesome. Thank you, Maggie. I'm inviting everyone to really show up, you know, be here, participate, let us know what's going on for you and how we can serve you. Awesome.
Well, I know for me, after, you know, getting back into the dating world after 22 years of marriage and then a 4-year relationship, 26 years out of being in the dating world, I had no idea what commitment meant other than being married. But I didn't really understand the word either, and that was foreign to me. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So we've got some great feedback here. It looks like number 3 and 4 seem to be the winner. A lot of people don't have enough dates, or if they are dating, they're not dating the right guys. They turn out to be you know, jerks. Or number 3, don't have enough dates. Yep. Or nobody to choose from. Maybe that's a little bit of, you know, maybe the right guy doesn't exist or something like that. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thanks everyone for tuning in, letting us know where you're at.
Thank you. So let's, you know, when we no longer compulsively need someone that that's when we can have a true, real relationship with them. See, because if we're trying to find intimacy with another person before achieving a sense of identity on our own, all of our relationships become an attempt to complete yourself. This was a hard lesson for me to learn, and I really try to hit this point with my clients that it's really about completing yourself. It's really about the loving relationship that you have with yourself is what makes you complete, and what attracts that soulmate, what attracts that love that we're all looking for. And we talked about regret earlier, and how many of you feel as though something is missing? And sometimes that missing feeling that we get is that little bit of regret that, wow, I did this, or I compromised myself in this way. And we're really having a hard time pinpointing it sometimes.
I think this, again, we talked about, waiting for what is this called? The guy to come charging through on his white horse and come and save you. I think we were raised as Cinderella. What are the other ones? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and all the
Right.
Rapunzel. Oops, I don't want to swear, but all of these cartoons, right, where some man comes charging over on a white horse and comes and saves us and makes our whole life okay. And I think that entire it's brainwashing. I mean, look, little kids watching TV all day long. I mean, I just watched this great movie this weekend called The Croods. Okay, I don't know if you've seen this. I've got 3 kids in the family, and it's all about how this one family is a caveman family, and they let fear keep them in a cave, and it's all about breaking through fear and finding new land, and everything's going to be okay, and downloading ideas. I'm like, man, look at this, man. We're raising freaking Cinderella and charging white horses and a whole freaking society of disempowered women who are waiting for some man to come and save us. And these, you know what I mean? Like, it's a completely different paradigm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm watching this. I'm like, this is great. You could do a watch and replay of this, of this video. Like, this is the kind of, this is the kind of empowerment or not brainwashing, but this kind of fuel that you want to be giving kids, And I think that a lot of women, I think a lot of women, if we're looking at, like, I'm 37. Okay, so let's take my generation because I grew up on that stuff. I think we've been trained to believe that somebody else out there is going to make us happy. And I think it's the fundamental lie that keeps people suffering. So I'm happy that you're mentioning it here, because it is about, closing that loop, being complete first, and then being in partnership with somebody that is doing the same thing.
Right, that is. And I just have to say, I love that movie, The Croods. And I think it is an empowering movie for girls to really see that girl just really branching out and breaking her fear and attempting new things, and knowing that there's a bigger world out there and that she's not afraid to go conquer it. And we do miss that. We do miss that, even in my generation. I mean, I'm a couple of years older than you, Vanessa, but we were raised on the same kind of stories as well too. And so, but let's talk about, you talked about some fundamental things. So let's talk about some of the fundamental lies that we believe in order to escape the truth about sex, because sex is like a taboo word when it comes to relationships. No one really wants to talk about sex. And really, gosh, that's what screws us up the most when it comes to relationships. So let's look at a first lie. We can't do anything to tame our animal instincts. I hear this from a lot of my clients, and I know I've fallen victim to this too, where you're like, but I'm just so turned on by this guy. I'd have no idea I just can't stop touching him, or I can't stop being around him. And I just don't understand it. I just want to have sex with him. What's wrong with that? And it's crazy. We are human beings, but let's talk about the animal world. We've got a pretty powerful picture here of a lion, and he's pretty intense with this female, but let's look at some of the ways our animal instincts have evolved and brought us here. The praying mantis will bite the head off the male while they're mating.
Oh my God.
Right? I know. I'm going to get into some really kind of grody, goofy, geeky kind of stuff right now for a minute. And the barbaric sea worm munches off the tail of the male in order to fertilize her eggs. I mean, animal instincts are crazy. And let's not forget the beautifully deadly black widow spider who devours her mates. And she mates about 25 times a day. Now, if that's not crazy, thank God we're not all black widow spiders, right?
Wow.
Kind of crazy what animal instincts will do for you, right? But then on the flip side, we also have some other animals that are very sweet and endearing. Take the mole rat. The mole rat creates a wedding chamber for his mate in order to reproduce. Isn't that sweet? I mean, wouldn't you like that if a guy did that, created a wedding chamber for you? And the female red-eyed tree frog carries her mate on her back over the threshold to fertilize her eggs.
Mm.
I mean, animal instincts are crazy. And then, of course, we all know about cats and dogs. They're included as well in there. They screech and howl, and dogs will do it anywhere. And I'm talking about the four-legged furry kind that talk about it, not some of the guys that try to date us. But what does that all have to do with us, you're probably wondering? You know, it all has to do with how we approach sexuality. And that, you know, our biggest sex organ isn't between our legs. It's not on our chest. Our biggest sex organ is our brain. I mean, we can control when, how, where, with whom we have sex with. We have that ability to do that. The praying mantis doesn't. The barbaric sea worm doesn't. The mole rat doesn't even do it. He may prepare, but it's still an animal instinct. They still have to go with their instinct. We have the ability to control all of that. And that sometimes screws us up. You know, sorry, getting a little ahead of myself there. You know, it's important to realize that we can control our sexual urges, and we are sexual beings. I mean, that's part of who we are. The divine created us that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be reproducing. There wouldn't be 7 billion people in the world, you know, in some countries even more, it seems like. But just because we're sexual doesn't necessarily mean we have to fall prey to our animal instincts over time and always become victim to that in the dating world. And I know for me, sometimes that's what happens. And you go on a date and you end up having sex on the first date. I know I made that mistake several times in my dating world, in my dating time. I don't know if you have or anybody else. Has anybody else ever done that? Kind of gotten caught up in that whole animal instinct. We're going to have sex right now.
Well, I think it's really a powerful point, because I'll be the first one to admit, you know, I went through phases of, oh my God, I'm never going to date another man again. They're all, you know, I'm just maybe not cut out for it. Maybe there's no one out there. Maybe it'll never happen. So I would just put men away. It would be like, never, I will focus my business to other things. And then I'd be so sexually starved, you know,
like,
right. And then I'll make the same mistake over and over and over again. And what you're saying, you know, when I was in an 8-year relationship, I stayed in and out, jumping in and out, and it wasn't the best relationship for me, but I mean, it was. I mean, who's to say it helped me birth an entire business and everything else? But I could have left a lot sooner, could have saved myself a lot of heartache, could have found Mr. Right sooner, who knows? And the lie that I kept telling myself, I'm just going to be open and raw and vulnerable, was that, you know, because the sexual chemistry was so good, it must be the right thing. It must be a good relationship. It must be the one. He must be the one because the sexual chemistry is there.
Right.
I think that lie, you know, also plays in. We're talking about like animal instincts, and relationships aren't just about sex. I mean, the ones in my experience, you know, the best relationships, you know, yes, have a great sexual element to them, but it's not totally founded on that. So I wanted to let you know my experience with it.
Yeah. And the same, you know, I've done the same thing too, where I swear off men and it, yeah, fallen victim to all of that. So it, you know, having that belief, having that lie really creates mess in our lives. But there's another lie that helps create mess in our lives too. But before we get to that, what can you do when you're in the heat of the moment, you know, which can get pretty steamy? You know, I think we forget that we can control our urges, and we forget to stop and ask ourselves, are we truly honoring ourselves by making the choice to wait, or have sex? I mean, which way do we want to honor ourselves? By kind of feeling crappy the next morning by picking up our clothes? Like, I've done that where I've, woke up the next morning and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. Ugh, picking up my clothes as I walk out the door. And it's taken me a long time to understand that I have the power to make the decisions that dictate my behavior. In honor to you, you have the power to take your power back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what can you do when you're in that situation? You can get up and go for a walk, get a drink of water, ask him to get you a drink of water, somehow break the momentum. What are some other things that you can think of out there that you can do to kind of break that cycle of believing that sexual chemistry is what determines whether or not that relationship is the right one for you? Anybody have any ideas?
Let's see. And while they're waiting to hear, there's a little bit of a delay with Webinar Jam. FYI, if you're using Webinar Jam platform, there's about an 18-second delay between when we're talking, Patricia and I, and when there's actually when you guys on the webinar platform hear it and can answer in the chat. So that's usually when I ask a question and take a drink of water. So while they're answering, yeah, Gertie says meditation is good for this, to upgrade your level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to upgrade your level of consciousness. Right. But to make the point, when I first got started, looking in and taking responsibility for the relationships I was creating, I started learning from all these different people. And one of the things I learned, before, I thought, well, I'll just, they'll I'll have sex with them, or I'll do what they want, so that they'll like me and they'll fall in love with me. And that's actually very opposite to how a man decides what is valuable and what is not. Mm-hmm. So a man decides what is valuable by how you keep yourself, right? And if you think about it, if you just fling yourself at the first man who shows interest, you kind of become cheap. And he thinks, well, if she flings herself on me without testing and without finding out whether I'm even a good guy, I could be a dink. Not that men are dinks. I love men. I respect them. But it's your fault if you're a woman and you're opening up your legs too soon, because what that says is about you is that you really don't care too much about you. Because why would you let somebody so close and into your personal space to enter your physical body, your temple, without even finding out whether or not cares about you, values.
Mm-hmm.
So Maggie says, why am I hearing this? Okay, maybe that's gonna be better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing like double. Okay, I muted the chat, that's why. So Catherine says, ask him to pray with you to ensure this is the right thing to do, and surely will stop him in his tracks. It's fine. Yeah, you can say that. If he's a spiritual guy, hey, yeah, absolutely. Catherine says, I always think about whether I'm going to be sorry the next morning, and that gives me a lot of self-control. Exactly. So one of the best things I heard, someone say was, make a man prove to you.
Mm-hmm.
Make a man prove to you that he's worth it. And I was like, oh my God, no men will ever want to stick around. Like, that's crazy. But no, they actually want you more because you value yourself, and it gives a man a challenge. Rise up to it.
Did you ever watch Seinfeld? Did you ever watch that episode where Elaine was qualifying men to see if they were sponge worthy?
No, but that's what it is. It's about qualifying them. Yes,
it is. It totally is. So, and in case anybody has not seen that one, she had a specific birth control that she'd like to use, and they were going to be discontinuing it. So she bought out the supply.
Oh.
She made that decision in the moment that she was going to ration them because she loved this product so much that she was only going to use it on guys that were sponge worthy.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she interviewed everybody that she was going to have sex with and determine whether or not they were sponge worthy. And
Well,
really, we forget to it's a very humorous thing, but we forget to do that, to qualify guys
so
to have
note,
access to
is he
temple.
sponge worthy?
It is so funny. It's a hilarious show. It's a hilarious episode. But it is all about that. It's all about honoring yourself in some way.
Yep.
And determining whether that guy is worthy of you, of having access to you, to all of you, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. It's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and qualifying them. And I think a lot, we're just having candid conversations. What I love the most about having a live webinar is that we'll like throw some slides together, we'll get together, we'll have a chat, and like the most amazing things will come out of the conversation. So what's coming to me is that, you know, I think women, for me, I'll talk about myself, raise my hand. You know, a lot of women get stuck in a relationship because they think, oh my God, there's nothing better out there. Or maybe they're with, you know, in a relationship with a controlling person, a controlling man, an unhealthy relationship. And, you know, that man maybe he's very insecure and makes the woman feel like she'll never get anything better than that. She'll never deserve or amount, and she better stick with it. Like, are you crazy? You're not going to get anything better. So, and some women, like they get one man because they haven't had any, because they're not dating several men at the same time. They're not qualifying men, or they sexually starved. They pounce on the first one that comes around, and they make him fit into the mold of Mr. Right. And I think this comes from the fact that, you know, men fall in love slower. Women, we don't even need to freaking meet you. We could just hear you on the phone and already start like picturing, okay, the wedding is going to be over here. He's going to look like this. Like our kids are going to go to this school. Like it's crazy how fast a woman's mind goes to, whoom, you know, and become so attached, instead of saying, okay, well, next, until you find the one that really matches all your criteria, you know. Matches the one that has the same values as you, that wants to get married, that wants to have kids, for example, if that's what you want, you know, that is into outdoor sports. So I think a lot of women also, you know, settle because, or have sex too soon, or try and make that man the one because they think that they have to. And I think, you know, my partner showed up when I got out of that, and I was like, oh, it's just like next, okay, next. It's kind of like, you know, attracting clients for your business. Like, no, not a good. Oh, all right, yeah. It's kind of like it may sound very I don't know, uncouth or very, you know, crude, but if you look at it, attachment to, you know, having not attachment to that person, that the right one will show up. And because you're so unattached, it'll be, it's just, I think, easier for you to get exactly what it is you want and more.
Yeah, I agree. I had a client, excuse me, had a client who kind of fell in that same trap too. You know, she was dating this guy, and things were going well. They had, you know, started having sex like on the third date, and it was a highly charged sexual relationship, and you know, and it was going along. A couple of months later, all of a sudden the guy is starting to pull away and kind of like wander off and not really contacting her, and she can't understand what's going on. And she's like, but he's the one for me. He's got all these attributes that I'm looking for, but he just needs time. He needs help, and I'm trying to help him, you know, learn these kind of things. And you know, I had to point out to her, and I said, when you're complete and he's complete, then there's really nothing that you really need to help him learn, because he should already have that learning within him, you know, and be able to have that ability to honor you and communicate with you, and not just kind of, okay, I'm tired of having sex with her, I'll move on to the next person. Yeah. Because sex for guys is really about if they're capable. It's not really so much that they want you. I mean, guys will have sex with pretty much anybody. You can ask them. I grew up with 5 brothers, so believe me, I heard about all this discussion all the time. You know, so it really kind of shaped how I looked at men in a lot of ways. But it's true. I mean, guys just really are. Sometimes there's a lot of guys out there that just really aren't honorable about how they want to treat a woman. They just think that she's an object to
Right.
use. And we
And
and
we're
we
not talking about all men here. Not talking about all men.
not
but
all men. Not all
I think
men.
I think a lot of men struggle with that. I think you're absolutely right. And that's why it's important, if you want to keep your heart safe, during this process of dating, that you find out, in advance what his, find out if he actually cares about you. I mean, if you want to go for love and you want to go for your soulmate, find out if he cares about you. And if the answer is yes, then open your legs, enter into that interaction, but not before, because that's how women get hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. So let's look at the second. I wanted to let everybody know I have a gift for all of you for being on the call today, for being on the webinar. If you go to my website, soulfulsuccesssecrets.com, and fill in the little bit of information, you will get a copy of my ebook, A Quick Guide to Creating Your Relationship Blueprint. And this is a complete guide walks you how to create it. How to create that blueprint so you can start attracting that person and start looking at what's holding you back and anything like that. So feel free to go do that. And that's my gift for you for being here today. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. So let's look at the second lie that we tell ourselves or we believe about sex, is that having sex will bolster our self-image by making us more desirable and more confident. We were just talking about that, how if we have sex with them on the first date, they're going to really like us more, and we're going to base our whole relationship on that. It leads to one-night stands. We have all these friends with benefit situations. We have sex on the first date or the second date, But what we really need to look at is, why is our sexuality so often the source of our problems? And that's basically what we've been talking about. I mean, why are we not more intentional and deliberate about our sexual urges? And about how we view sex in the whole scheme of creating our ideal, truly divine relationship. And why are there so many affairs? I mean, why are there STDs and unwanted pregnancies and broken hearts? And why are so many of us sexual shipwrecks? Because some of our choices that we've made about how we view relationships. And I really think about this. I was a teacher for a number of years, and I worked in high schools and middle schools primarily. And it's interesting to sit and watch these kids and watch them kind of, they start dating. They kind of start getting into that liking the opposite sex, and they're dating, so to speak, in school. And of course it gets into high school, and you really kind of start seeing how some of those relationships are truly unhealthy, and the patterns that we've created, even as adolescents, about our beliefs and relationships, and how they just kind of keep building and going on, and we keep following them. And I watched some of these girls that I would coach in basketball who were amazing athletes, but they sucked at relationships. And to see them going to college and becoming women, and I'd be like, wow, I hope something shifts for them, that they discover their true value and their true worth, because it's tough how much media really impacts our view of ourselves as women, as sexual beings, as partners, as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, as friends. It's really, really amazing, and it really impacts how we think about sex in our relationships.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you're bringing up, the subject that, successful women oftentimes can struggle in their relationships. It's like you wonder, the story of being a teacher and seeing people have, these brilliant women and go off to college and like, oh my God, I hope she has a shift in her self-worth. It's all about self-worth. The women that I coach, about business, it ends up being about their self-worth. And as they start changing the stories in their minds about, their belief systems and the decisions they've made, their relationships begin shifting and changing. If they work on their self-worth for money, it changes their relationships as well. So it's a powerful conversation to have. What's your self-worth, saying? What are your actions showing you about your level of self-worth? It's a great reflection question.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. And we have to really be radically honest with ourselves. I mean, when we think about sex in our relationships and our building relationships, do I truly want to build a relationship solely on sex? I mean, that's something we should all be asking ourselves. And by having a friends with benefits or casual sex, etc., am I honoring my self-worth? I mean, I really wish I had these questions when I was coaching those girls in basketball and sports, because it would have been a game changer for them. And am I using sex as a way to get approval from a man? Oftentimes we do that unknowingly, and am I using sex as a way to feel connected in relationships? I don't know if everybody saw the video I did. I have a friend who's a marriage and family therapist, and I used to kind of always vent to her about my failed relationships because I had sex too soon. And her favorite phrase to me was, that darn oxytocin will get you every time. And as you know, oxytocin is the bonding chemical in our bodies. It makes you feel bonded and connected after you have sex. But if that's what you base the early part of your relationship on, it wears off. It goes away because it's just not there. It's just not a solid foundation for building a relationship.
Yep. Yeah, I can attest to that. I can attest to that. I think relationships that last for years and years and years are built on friendship. They're built on mutual trust. They're built on respect. They're built on, people having the same vision or same characteristics. You know what I mean? Like, if you're somebody that has integrity, you want to be with somebody who has integrity. Otherwise, it doesn't work. There's some very I read somewhere, I don't know where, it was a Reddit or watched it, but it was about, what are your non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables? Like, what is non-negotiable for you? For me, something like, it might sound weird, but something like, the house being clean, somebody who's non-cleanly, it's a non-negotiable. Out. It'll just, you can't live with somebody, I don't care how great the sex is, if, they don't have the same level of, cleanliness or order in their life. To me, that's like a chaotic mind, a crazy mind. That's somebody who's actually mentally, to me, crazy. I can't function in a house that's not clean. I can't function. So that's like a non-negotiable. What are your non-negotiables with men? You got to know that. And I think, that's how dating becomes great, because you get to use the arena called dating to get really clear on your non-negotiables and get, closer and closer to knowing what you want. And, I think these are great questions. And also the question about, also that point of oxytocin, right? That's why, women, I think if you're looking for a real soulmate relationship with somebody, you should wait. You should wait to find out, if he's actually that person that has the same values as you before you start getting kind of chemically addicted to them, right?
I agree. I agree. And for me, one of my non-negotiables is they need to be able to communicate and clearly. If I spend as much time clearly and being clear about what I want, what I need, what I'm asking from them, I feel my partner should have the same clarity and communication as well. If all they do is grunt, then it's non-negotiable for me. So,
well, there you go. So you know that from experience, and I think it's for you to feel loved and cared for. You want communication. You want somebody who can communicate, right?
Yeah.
To feel loved. Totally. And really, the mark of a man who loves you is a man who cares about how you feel.
Yes, totally.
So
totally.
You communicate to a man how your feelings, and he doesn't, do something about it. He's showing you, I don't give a shit about you. Not that all men don't give a shit about women. That's what I'm saying. To find out if a man really likes you, tell him how you feel, tell him, talk about your feelings. I think that was another key shift for me, was learning how to communicate with a man about my feelings, because that was like really vulnerable. That was like, oh my God, crazy territory. I can run a business and be like almost in masculine mode, but to talk about my feelings, too vulnerable. Oh my God. Right. But that's how men really relate to a woman. That's what they want. So that was a big shift. And then, getting into, looking at what it was, taking the events and the scenes for what it was, accepting that, hey, if this person, this person doesn't care about my feelings, so he doesn't care about me. So why would I want to spend time with him? Right. That's getting into an arena with a bull. The thing's a freaking bull. It's going to come charging over you and kill you, but you stay in there anyways. Why? Right. Yeah. To learn
because you're going to overpower at some point in time. Right? Yeah, it's crazy. And it's, it prevents us that, a lot of things, a lot of things lure us to that sex too soon syndrome. And, look at our advertising. I mean, it's all over the place. It just tells you like, have sex now, have sex now. And all the marketing is geared towards that because sex does sell. But I think a lot of us take that into like our lives and our relationships. Like if I have sex, I'm going to have a relationship. But the real, reason that some of us have sex too soon is because sometimes we see sex as a barometer of our worthiness and as a means of relational connectedness, like we talked about. We think that that's what's going to keep the guy, and that's how we get connected through that oxytocin overload that we get from having sex. But when you please others in hopes of being accepted, you lose your self-worth in the process, and we forget that. And that's really an important thing that we need to carry out as women, and we need to share with our daughters and sisters and friends as well.
Well said.
Yes. So if we are in a romantic relationship without the foundation of a solid sense of self-worth, without knowing who we are and what we want, we're truly playing with fire. We really are. We're setting ourselves up for heartache, for failure, for just a lot of crap. For sadness, for not ever getting the man or the relationship that we truly want. We're denying ourselves love, self-love, denying ourselves completeness is really what we're doing. So how do we do that? How do we get over that and start attracting our soulmate now? Well, we have choices. We find other ways of showing mutual endearment and tender caring. We have healthy boundaries, and I think we forget about all those boundaries that we can have in our lives, and we forget to put boundaries on our sexuality when it comes to building that relationship, and that's what really gets us off track. And, we see it with our clients sometimes too. I don't know if you see it with yours, but being able to identify the boundaries for your clients. I've had clients that overstep their freedom of contacting me, and I have to kind of set a healthy boundary for them and kind of say, hey, I can't talk to you at 1 a.m. Same thing with relationships. Hey, we're not going to have sex right now, we're going to hold off, because that's a healthy boundary for you. So creating those things. And just one more good reason to just say wait is that you will end up with that soulmate relationship, that divine, spiritual, happy, loving relationship that you've wanted, you've craved, you've dreamed about all of your life, that you feel really enhances your completeness and really builds to it with another complete person. So that's just another good reason to just say wait on having sex too soon.
Johnny just posted a really great idea, and it's that he says, I guess men choose sex procreation and most women choose survival or commitment. So that's another interesting way to look at how men and women view the topic of sex. It's really interesting. I'm happy you brought that up, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. Because, the universe is always affirming what you believe back to you, right? And it gives you, if you're giving out there that you don't value yourself, it's going to keep presenting you with people who don't value you, right? If you put out there that you are worthy and you are valuable and you are honorable, then you're going to attract men who view that as well, who will honor you, who will value who you are, who will respect your self-worth. It's all about putting out in the universe what you truly want. A lot of my clients get a lot of support and accountability and mentorship, in this area, and a lot of other women as well too. So it's really important. I know I did. I have my own personal coach. I've had her for quite a few years now, and she has helped me tremendously by being a supportive person, by holding me accountable to what I say I'm going to do and how I'm going to show up in my life and my relationships. And she's been a great mentor. She herself has been a coach for over 30 years. And so I truly honor and cherish her for her support. So I appreciate it. And I open that and invite everybody else to consider that as part of their lives as well. And so, when you say yes, you're willing to play full on and really go at this. you know, and like showing up today, you said yes, and you showed up, and you're here, and you're listening to this, and you're you know, part of our conversation, and it's amazing and powerful, and this is how everyone needs to show up in their lives and their business, and attracting what they want, whether it's their true love or their true client, or, you know, wealth and abundance or health, whatever it is. When you show up, the universe gives it to you, and you're better set for success in life. But I also want you to think about how much time you're spending in survival mode. We talked about this, you know, Johnny made that comment, you know, women are in survival mode sometimes, and we do that. I mean, we keep recreating that past and recreating the same patterns, you know, like you said earlier, Vanessa, you know, just with listening to their voice, we could go into this whole story about the fairy tale wedding. We've already got the wedding planned and the honeymoon and how many kids we're having. You haven't even met the person. You've only talked to them on the phone, right? That's a survival mode action, because we're trying to grapple and hold on to something so tightly without truly understanding whether or not it's good for us. You know, how much time are you spending in survival mode with your love life? And really, we all need to think about that. It's a question I needed to think for myself. I mean, if you're not getting different dates, if you're not getting men that please you, if you're not having men come and take you out and show you a nice evening, I mean, if you're not freaking looking forward to something really amazing on the horizon with an amazing guy, and you're still taking all these crappy relationships and accepting all of that, and if you're still in that relationship that you've been in for 5-6 years with the same guy who keeps treating you like crap, then you're in survival mode. I mean, and if you're not manifesting what you truly want and getting everything that you don't want, then you're in survival mode. I mean, a lot of people are in survival mode with their love life, with their careers. I mean, some of us, you know, may be in business, our businesses may be thriving, but we're in survival mode in our love life, and that impacts how we show up everywhere else. And you have to ask yourself, what's it costing you to not have that relationship that you want? I mean, how many freaking weddings are you going to go to? I was looking at a friend of mine who was posting pictures from a wedding, and I remember talking to her a couple of weeks before how she dreaded going to this wedding because her and her boyfriend had just broken up, and she didn't want to go single. And she was going to have, she said she was having a hard time celebrating this wedding because she was single. You know, what's it costing you in your happiness? We really need to kind of really think about that, because, you know, our barriers to love are rarely consciously chosen. They are efforts to protect the places where the heart is bruised. And the only way back to love is through the light. And that's through showing up and having the courage to stand up for who you are and what you, and the value you bring to the world. And you have a choice. You know, you have a choice to think about the information that you learned here today and how it's going to apply to your life, and how it applies to how you're attracting the people that you want in your life, the love that you want in your life. You know, and you can go back and do it on your own and see where it gets you. That'll be great. Some of you may be successful with all that. Or, you know, we can work together and I can help you attract the man of your dreams. Because like I said, I'm giving you guys a free blueprint, an amazing blueprint. If you go to my website and download it, that'll really help you begin attracting that soulmate that you want. So how about in the next 30 days, what would it mean for you to begin attracting men that are possible suitors? Wouldn't that be amazing? I think that would be like, wow, stop going out with all the trolls. So my Attract Your Soulmate Now program, how to heal the relationship with yourself so you can attract the relationship of your dreams, is the best program out there for the single woman. It truly does go through and help you find those gremlins, help you discover those patterns in your relationship that keep repeating themselves that you may not even be noticing. And it helps you transform that relationship story from sucky story to amazing relationship story in the relationship with yourself, so that you can create that relationship that you truly want with the man of your dreams. So if that resonates with you and you feel called to it and it's drawn to it, would love to hear from you. You can find me at soulfulsuccesssecrets.com/apply. I look forward to hearing from you. And Thank you for being here. I'm truly honored that you spent time with me and got to listen to my conversation today. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. That was great, Patricia. I love how generous you are here with everyone. And I know that the people that are applying to learn more about the program will be speaking with you. And I'm just going to go ahead and type it here into the chat box. soulfulsuccesssecrets.com/apply. And then what happens when they apply, they get like an email notification, and then they get a chance to book into your calendar and have a conversation directly with you, right? And see if this program is for them. Okay, so I'll put that
it'll
down.
get them a 60-minute conversation with me about where they want to go with their relationships.
Yeah, that's very generous, because I can tell you that it's a tricky land, to try and figure out and navigate, your own their own inner landscape. To do it on your own, it can be really tricky. We often don't see, those patterns on our own, because if we did, we wouldn't meet other people, right? So thank you for offering that, that very generous, gift of your time, Patricia. And I'm so happy that we got to do this conversation. There's been tons of just comments and feedback, and a lot of people here joining the webinar. So it's definitely a topic, that is really valid. And I think, gosh, when you really look at it, what's the most important thing? Is it the money that you make? Is it the business that you have? Is it the people that you spend your time with? So relationships, super, super powerful. And again, I want to thank you for being here with us live. Catherine, Gertie, Jules, say thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It's so nice to have you here joining us. Again, you're listening here to the 10K and 30-day live weekly webinar series. Today we talk about relationships, because in my opinion, this is a really valuable conversation. Again, I wish I'd stumbled on it in my early 20s, right? How many countless, teenagers, women, can benefit from it. And again, if you're watching the webinar, I highly recommend you take Patricia up on her offer. Talk to her, find out where you're at with your own inner landscape, find out what can be changed in order to attract your ideal partner, your soulmate. You deserve it. I believe every woman should have the relationship of their dreams, and you can definitely have it. You just got to take responsibility for what's going on in here, so that can shine out and attract the right one. So again, to apply for her program, soulfulsuccesssecrets.com. And then she's also giving away a copy of her book on her website, Soulful Success Secrets. Patricia, it's been awesome having you joining us. Where can people can find you on your website? Are you on Facebook, Twitter? Where can they find you?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Tumblr. Where else am I? I'm on Pinterest. I am all over the place.
Awesome. So just search for Patricia Runblade. Patricia, thanks again for being here. It's meant a lot to me, and obviously the viewers here, when saying Maggie and Denise, thank you. What a great topic. Thank you so much. Got to run. Awesome. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the 10K and 30-day live weekly webinar. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.